Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Monday night. That means it's time for another edition of Circle Track Chatter presented by Sun Parlor Trailers. My name is Craig Smolders, joined as always by former driver, veteran driver. We're not sure what we're going to call him, so we'll just call him Rob Young. Hi, Rob.
Yep.
How are you?
I'm really good, Craig. And how you doing?
I'm doing good. It's Holiday Monday. I hope you had a good civic holiday and everybody's enjoying out there. Did you have a good weekend? What did you get up to this weekend?
I did. Of course, racing was a big part of it. I accompanied my good friend Alan Arsenal down to Humberstone Speedway, and he drove one of the Legends cars for Dan Russ Incorporated there, and Rob Indig, and yeah, we had a lot of fun. It was really cool. Alan was so excited. Like I couldn't get a word in edgeways on the way home. Of course, I was kind of nodding off, but he talked. We didn't get home till 4:00 in the morning. And from the time we left the track, that's all we talked about. He was so excited. So there was a joke because he won a trophy for third place. He started fifth and ended up third, and a tough competition. But so he gets a trophy, and the joke was that he was gonna seatbelt the trophy in the front seat, and I was gonna have to sit in the back. So yeah, we had a lot of fun.
That's good, and that was good to see. Congratulations to Alan Arsenault on finishing third in the Legends race at Humberstone on Saturday night. That was awesome. We went out to Route 1 Raceway on Friday night. Waylon wasn't racing because he was on holidays, but just went out to watch. It was kind of relaxing. You just sit there. You don't have to do anything. Just sit there and watch the races, and they always put on a good show out there, and they had some pretty entertaining races, and it was a good time. So. Now, moving on a little bit, we're going to go from legend cars and go-karts. We're going to move right into wingless sprint cars. Tonight, we're talking to Ian Hunter. He's one of the spokespeople for the OTS, the Ontario Traditional Sprints. He's also a driver. So we're going to get him on here. We're going to do some sprint car talk. But what's your opening thoughts on wingless sprints? Ian Hunter, if you know anything about him, what do you got to say about all that, Rob?
Well, you know what? They're a lot of fun to watch, and they're a driver's car. You don't have any downforce that's created by the wing, whether it be the front wing or the top wing. You got to really manhandle those things. Lots of rear tire stagger. The Ontario Traditional Sprints, really good rule package. Basically, you can run anything you want as long as it's under 410 cubes. They're just open rules. I like that. Just go out there and race. So let's bring him in. I can't wait to talk to him.
Yeah, let's get Ian Hunter in here so we can learn some stuff about him and some sprint cars. Hello, Ian. How are you tonight?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I am wonderful. How's everything? What's going on? What's new and exciting? What's up?
Things are good. We've been off for a week or two. We're looking forward to going down to Psalms on Saturday night, and we should be ready. We should have a good group of cars, and it'll be fun.
Excellent. And we're looking forward to that. Of course, that's this Saturday, August the 6th. You guys are coming down. They're going to be having the Roofless Rumble there as well. So you guys will be joining in on that. So that's going to be good. Last time you guys were here, you put on a good show. Scott Burke ended up winning, but there was a lot of back and forth right at the front there. Talk about how it's been going at Psalm so far, Ian.
It's been good. Like any new series, I mean, car counts have been a little bit to be desired, but you know what? We knew that's the way it was going to be. We've had good racing so far. I think the last race really proved how good the racing can be. I mean, we were down a couple of cars towards the end there, but even still, those four cars put on a hell of a good battle. Scott Burke winning showed that a 360 could beat a 410. Things have been going really good. We're happy with the start so far.
Excellent. Rob, do you have any questions about any of that?
Yeah, Ian and I were kind of talking about Psalms and how nice the facility is, and that car count. I think Ian indicated there might even be 10 wingless sprints there this weekend. So that's going to be really cool. It's fun to have something different for the fans. Typically, we're stock car. This is a stock car neck of the woods, and but nice to see the sprint cars come in. I'm looking forward to it. So I'll turn it over to you, Craig.
All right. So before we get too far here, we'll start with a little bit of history of kind of how you grew up in the sport and how you come to be a wingless sprint driver. So Ian, what was it always racing for you? Was that always your passion, or were you into other sports, some baseball or hockey or whatever growing up?
When I was a kid, younger, I played baseball. I played hockey. I'd always had a passion for racing. I always loved watching on TV. But to be honest, I mean, I'd never even been to a racetrack till I was 15. I was pretty lucky. I had an uncle who built a stock car, just an endurance car to run at Delaware, and that was my way in. I got to start going to the racetrack. That there was the first car that we ever built. I was 16 when we built that car, so that's kind of where it all began. But it started out with other sports, and that's where we got to.
Okay, and just out of curiosity, what is it? What was it, or what is it about? You know, you show up at the racetrack and you're there for an endurance race. What kind of drove it home that man, this is cool? What was that experience like?
Uh, Geez, I don't know. It just there was something about being there and just wanting to drive. Ever since I was a little kid, didn't matter what it was. If it had a motor and wheels, I wanted to drive it. So as soon as I got into the racing, hands down, it didn't matter what it was. I wanted to race it, and it just went from there. For me, that was it. I didn't care about anything else.
Rob, do you have any questions about that?
Yeah, that's where it starts. You have somebody that you know, or a member of the family, and you go to the track and you get excited about it. And it starts out with a street stock or an endurance car, and carries on from there. We've all been there, and we all got the we've all got bitten by the bug, and just 62 years old, and we still have that bug. So yeah, it's but again, it's always nice to hear the story of where it all started. So go ahead there, Craig.
Do you want to add anything to that, Ian?
Uh, no, no, he nailed it. That's just it. It's I think it's either you're either in or you're out. Once you get bit by the bug of racing, you either carry on or you just get right away from it.
Yep, for sure. So you ran endurance races at Cayuga also, is that right?
Yeah, I ran one or two endurance races, and then they quit running endurance, and they ran this series called Thunder Cars. So it was somewhere between a street stock and endurance car, and that seemed to be what we ran for. I think I ran that for 2 or 3 years. So it went from there.
Okay. And then you wanted to try your hand at some micro sprint racing. Is that how that went?
Yeah, kind of a silly story. I did the Thunder Car for a bit until I quickly ran out of money. Then I got helping out a good friend of mine in the Cast Car series, and he had this micro sprint, and he was telling me all about it. So one day we rented the track, and I got to try his micro sprint, and from there on in, I had to have one. I actually that's the first car that I bought right there, and I maybe made a deal for the car, and then I told my wife. So that's how dedicated I was. I figured it was make it or break it at that point.
Rob, do you have any questions about that?
So, like most of when you began on the asphalt, I take it, and that micro sprint, is that was that a dirt car or an asphalt car or asphalt sprint?
Yeah, no, that's I've never been back to the asphalt. Once I went into the micro sprints, it was dirt, and I haven't run an asphalt car since.
Hmm. Yeah, that's so you found it. And back to it's funny how if you do get bit by that bug, I know of guys who have missed the mortgage payment and spent the grocery money and done everything to go racing. Yeah, I borrowed when I was racing, and a lot of guys did. It just takes a lot of dedication, and I understand that you're a heavy equipment mechanic, and you probably like to tinker with things and can fix that stuff on your own. That's a key part of it too, is being able to fix the stuff on your own. That goes a long way too. You got anything to add to that?
Yeah, especially those micro sprints. Those cars were all kind of they were all key to this area. So buying parts, I mean, there was a few things you could buy, but I remember we made a lot of parts ourselves for those cars. You definitely want to be somewhat handy. I don't know anybody that races that can't do some work on it themselves. You can't just pay people all the time. You got to be able to do it on your own.
Yep, or have lots of help. Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny, when I was younger, guys used to show up the garage and yeah, I bought the pizza and the beer and it was all gone. But we had lots of guys. The older you get, I don't know what happens to them. You can't find them anymore. But when I was younger, yeah, the garage was always, everybody was there to help. So I guess
Yep.
it's the younger thing, right? But anyway, go ahead, Craig.
It seems.
All right, so talk us through that experience a little bit, because you were in a full size car, and then you go into a micro sprint and you're squeezed in there like a sardine. And what's that experience like and the learning curve, and how long did it kind of take you to get comfortable in a tiny little thing like that?
So what I noticed about those little cars right away, they're kind of like a non-wing sprint. Like, they had tons of power and they were really twitchy. You had to learn to just relax. The big cars, they kind of float. They're just easy around the track, and those micro sprints, they're very instant. So there was a bit of a learning curve there. Even the dirt, I mean, drifting around a corner was all new. If you were doing that in a stock car, you were doing it wrong. So there was a bit of a learning curve there, but it took me, I think we were the better part of the first year, just getting comfortable, learning how to drive the car. It really took till the second year before I kind of found a comfort level that would allow me to be a lot more competitive.
Okay, Rob, do you have any questions about that?
Nope. They look really twitchy. I've watched them run on a go-kart track, and you wonder, they're kind of bouncing around and really steering quick and stuff like that. Wouldn't say it's my something I'd really want to do. Go-karts I don't mind, but yeah, those things, yeah, they kind of scare me. So I my hat's off to you for driving them. Go ahead, Craig.
All right, so once you kind of got over the learning curve, you kind of rolled around the back at or whatever, figuring out everything, and you were racing at Wonderland, right? That's where you were doing your racing.
Yeah, Wonderland Speedway was pretty much the only place I raced for the best part of 15 years. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, and so as you're getting more experience and into your second season and kind of figuring everything out, talk about that a little bit, Ian.
Yeah, so I met actually the guy I bought my first car from there. He became a really good friend of mine. He helped me a lot in that first year, and then he had a really good fast car. He did quite well. I said to him, if you ever want to sell your car, I think we're getting to the point now where we're comfortable. I'd like to go faster. I'd like to be more comfortable, do some better things. And I just said, if you ever want to sell, I'd love to buy your car. And so he decided he was done. We got into the blue car there you see in the back. Actually, it was funny because when I bought that car, shortly thereafter, I was fortunate enough to get the sponsorship from Lucas Oil, but the car was yellow. It looked like a little Pennzoil car. First race I ever ran, I had Lucas Oil stickers on the side of it, and yet I had Pennzoil colors. But no, we had a lot of luck with that little blue car. I got quite comfortable. It didn't take very long. We were winning races. I think in my third year in in micro sprints, we won the points championship. I got a lot of help from sponsorship along the way, and a lot of help from friends. Like I said, my good friend Kurt Roderman there, he helped a lot along the way, and yeah, we had a lot of good times in that car and at that track, and a lot of good luck.
Did you do any traveling? Like, I know you said you could only race there in Ontario, but did you travel into the States or at all to do any racing, or there just wasn't existent enough?
Yeah, we didn't. We weren't able to go into the U.S. Those cars, like I said, were very built for this area. They kind of morphed from a go-kart into a go-kart with a roll cage into somebody who was manufacturing those carts. So they didn't really meet the rules and specs from the U.S. So there was the odd time that there was a couple of other tracks that tried to make a go of it in this area, but those cars kind of were very Wonderland Speedway cars, we'll say. They didn't really go too far for the traveling.
Okay, Rob, do you have any more questions about that?
I think you kind of lost me there for a minute or two, but no, go ahead. I'm interested in listening to what Ian has to say, so I'll turn it back over to you there, Ian.
All right, so we'll carry back on with the micro sprints, and I guess just keep talking us through progressing and getting better, winning championships, winning races, and how all that went for you.
Yeah, we were doing pretty good. Like I said, won championships. We won any of the big races that they ever had. They had a 100 lapper race. They had a 75 lapper memorial, whatever. We had done quite well. We had won. I hate to say it, we had won every big race there was eventually at some point, once or twice or more. It was a lot of fun. I had basically climbed to the top of the mountain. I actually got to the point where I quit racing micro sprints for all of a couple of months. I convinced my wife I was done, sold the car, did some other things. Then I was pretty fortunate. I got a call from the track owner, Hugh Smybert, and he had a suspension car, an Outlaw micro sprint. So I'd never run a suspension car before. He asked me to drive for him. So I was lucky enough to get in an Outlaw car for a couple of years. We had good luck with that car. We won some races and did quite well with that. And then unfortunately, the track came to a close a little bit abruptly. Unfortunately, we lost Hugh over the winter in 2014, I believe. And that was kind of the end of my micro sprint days. I really just thought I was done racing. I thought that was the end of things right then and there. So I'd had lots of good luck and I had lots of fun, but it seemed to come to a close very, very fast.
So then after that, and it's never good to see tracks close, but after that, you decided you want to get in a full size sprint. What led to that? What led to that decision? And walk us through that a little bit.
That was a crazy Facebook message I got one day from John Watson. I had always dreamed of a big sprint car. I always wanted to. I had pursued it a little bit. I didn't think at that point I could financially do it. So I really I was on the outside looking in, and one day out of the blue, I got a message on Facebook from John Watson. He had a car and he was looking for a driver, and he asked me if I would come and at least talk to him and see if I was interested in driving a non-wing sprint car. And for me, that was a dream come true. I really truly thought that my racing career was over. So that's kind of what led to non-wing sprints. I didn't care at all. I just wanted to go racing. I would have raced wheelbarrows if there was a motor on it. And I was just really fortunate to get the call to go and race the non-wing sprint. And it's just been that ever since.
Were you and John, like, did you guys hang out at previous to that, or was it just kind of an out of the blue call, hey, come drive my car?
He knew more about me than I knew about him. It turns out that there was a celebration of life for Hugh, and I didn't know John. I didn't know his wife Terry. It turns out they sat in front of myself and Holly Porter at that celebration of life, and they overheard Holly and I discussing racing sprint cars. We had a brief little chat, but I'll be honest, I didn't know who John Watson was. I didn't know anything about him. I just was a guy sitting there having a conversation, and he called me out of the blue. So like I said, he knew more about me than I knew about him. He had done his homework.
Okay. And I guess the same type of question. What was that experience like? Because you're coming from micro sprint to a full size car, so it's obviously completely different. What's the learning curve? What excitement do you get out of that? Maybe the excitement you didn't necessarily want, but got it anyway. How did that go for you?
So my first race was at Winston Speedway, way up in northern Michigan. I literally remember the first feature race. I was out there. I think it might have been my heat race even. I literally remember saying to myself, "Oh my God, what have you gotten yourself into? This is crazy." But yet the grin on my face was so big I couldn't wipe it off. Like, it was just an unbelievable experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I would never give up doing what I'm doing as long as I have the option to do it. The transition was huge. As twitchy and wild to drive as those micro sprints could be, sprint cars are a whole new ball game. When they say I've heard the term, it's like lassoing a shark. That pretty much nails it. It's a big handful, but the learning curve is steep, and you're either on board or you're not. Like, get in and get going. There's not a lot of time to figure it out, so get at it.
Yeah, for sure. So I think we're having some problems with Rob. I don't know if he's still there. Rob, are you there? Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'm here. So before I forget, or before I have some technical difficulties, for our fans that are out there, Ian, and they see sprint cars, whether they're wingless or wing sprints, out on the track, and they get pushed by a push track to start. There's no starters. Can you tell us, so what kind of transmission do you have in there? Why is it you don't have a starter? And to kind of walk the people that are listening who don't know through that. So you pull out, you're pushed out on the track. Where do you go from there?
Sure. So sprint cars don't have actually a transmission. The drive shaft is bolted right to the back of the crankshaft. The only thing we can do is put it in gear and take it out of gear. And once you've taken it out of gear, you can't put it back into gear. There's no disconnect from the engine in that drive shaft. Lots of race car, well, every other race car besides a sprint that I can think of, anyways, off the top of my head, there is that disconnect. So you can start the engine, put it into gear, and then slowly let your clutch out or what have you, and away you go. So with the sprint cars, basically the engine's locked in gear, and you push it off. It's very similar to, say, if you blew a clutch in a standard vehicle and you had to get home, like there's no other way to do it than bump it over in gear, and you're in gear until you get to where you're going and you shut it off. The only advantage is we can pull it out of gear, but more or less, that's when you see us being pushed off, that's why we have to be pushed off. A starter would never be able to turn the engine over and push the car off at the same time. And the whole thing about sprints is it's about weight. We are trying to be as light as we can. Batteries and starters and those sorts of things, they're heavy. So we would just rather not have them. That's just all there is to it. Yeah. We like it that way.
That answers another question. I personally wondered, you see sometimes they'll be building some heat in the engine, and then they'll roll off the track and up to the trailer, and the thing's still running. I'm thinking, well, I thought these things were kind of direct drive. So you can pop it out of, kind of like a Burt transmission, where you can pop it out of gear, sort of into neutral. So that answers that one too. That's good. And speaking of the wingless sprints in your rule package, we talked about you having the 410 cubic inch or less motor, and you run it on methanol. And methanol, you burn twice as much methanol as you would regular gasoline. So you have to carry a little larger fuel cell. So how many gallon fuel cell? And to those that don't know, the fuel cell is right behind the driver in that nose cone area. So how many gallon would that fuel cell be, Ian?
Lots of guys run a 25-gallon fuel cell. Some will run a little bit more, like a 28-gallon. It just depends. 25 gallons is more than enough to run a 25-lap race. We don't even fill our fuel cells right full. The only reason to run anything bigger than a 25 would be if you wanted a lower center of gravity or something like that, then you might run a bigger cell to run more fuel and keep that center of gravity lower. But other than that, 25 gallons is plenty.
Okay, I'll turn it back over to Craig.
All right, so we're just going to step away for a minute. We have to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to learn a little bit more about you, Ian, what you do for work and family life and stuff like that. So we're just going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with Ian Hunter from Ontario Traditional Sprints. All right, welcome back to Circle Track Chatter, presented by Sun Parlor Trailers. Rob Young and Craig Smolders talking to OTS driver and spokesperson Ian Hunter. So, Ian, before we went for a break, I mentioned that we'd like to get to know you just a little bit more. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. What you do for a living? Are you married? Do you have kids? And what kind of stuff you do away from racing?
So I'm I guess you'd say I'm a heavy equipment mechanic. I'm a truck and coach mechanic by trade, but I work for Carmuse Lime in Beachville, and I'm their only mechanic on site. So I take care of everything from their small engines all the way up through to the large loaders, rock trucks, and everything in between. If it has an engine and wheels, or even not with wheels, that's my baby to take care of. So that's what I do for fun, I guess, during the day. I've got a couple of kids, Dale and Bailey, and I'm not currently married, and that's good. That's okay. And yeah, so outside of the track, I mean, all summer long, all year round, we race. That's what we do. I race in the summer, and my son, ice oval races snowmobiles in the winter, and that's what we do. If I can slip away for a holiday here and there, I mean, I don't mind doing a little camping here and there. We generally try and camp somewhere near a racetrack and catch a race if we can. Otherwise, that's about it.
Excellent. Well, that sounds very good. Rob, do you have any questions about any of that?
So you have your two kids, Dale and Bailey, and Dale is 16 and Bailey's 13, and Dale is, just as you indicated, he races as well. So is he's racing a wingless sprint as well? Is that right?
Yeah. So with the ice oval snowmobile racing, he's done really well for himself. He's a really good rider. Got a good head on his shoulders, and of course, I drive for John Watson, and John has been kind of following Dale throughout his ice oval stuff. He really likes the way Dale drives and the way he thinks about things. So he's given Dale the opportunity to turn some laps in the big sprints, and he's had a couple of races with us this year, and he's done good for himself. So he's got some bright things ahead of him, I think.
Cool. Will he be racing at the Southern Ontario Motor Speedway this weekend?
Yeah, he's. I think we're going to have him in the car on Saturday night. We're trying to keep his numbers down to a minimum. We really want to start him out slow and let him get a good feel for things. So we don't want to give him too many races at once. We'd also like to keep his rookie status open. So we're being very careful about how much we let him go, but he will be there this Saturday.
What about Bailey? Is she interested in racing?
Racing is never. I mean, she likes to come and watch now and then, but Bailey loves horses. So Bailey's been riding horses now for, I want to say, the best part of 5 years. She does really well with her riding, and it's definitely difficult for me to get there to see both her ride and to be down at the racetrack. But as much as I can, I'm there. So horses are her thing, and she does quite well with that. So we get her when we can have her, and then we get up there to see her when we can.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, Craig, go ahead.
All right. I was just going to ask, what kind of riding does she do? Like just regular riding, or is she doing some trick riding and things?
Her big thing is English riding. So she's just gotten into doing a little bit of jumping. That's pretty much where she wants to be. She has a whole list in her head. She's listed everything from English to Western and dressage and all these other things, and she knows the levels. And right now her focus is in English riding and getting better at the jumping and showing.
Excellent. Well, we wish her the best of luck in that because, yeah, I can't imagine, but I don't imagine it's too easy of a thing to do, standing up and jumping and everything else. So, yeah, we definitely wish her the best of luck and all that stuff. Have you ever tried any tricks, jumping or anything?
No. Well, with a race car, I try not to do any tricks whatsoever, although it does happen from time to time. As for the horses, I've been on one a couple of times. It's all hers. That's I couldn't even think about jumping.
All right. So before we move on from this, do you have any pets at home?
I don't currently have any pets at home. I've had cats and dogs in the past, but right now, with all the traveling we do, it definitely makes it difficult to give a dog the proper attention that it needs. So no pets at this point.
All right. Rob, do you have any more questions about that, or can we go back into racing?
No, let's move on to the racing.
All right. So 2020, I guess you take a shot at doing some winged racing. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So I had never driven a big sprint car with a wing on it before. It was just one of those things. John and I had talked about it a few times. Had never had the opportunity because we run an open motor program. We do not have ASCS legal motors, so therefore we were not able to run anything locally or in Michigan with wings. But we heard about some open practice at Merrittville, and we had wings. Just kind of, we maybe had them almost for free. So John said, well, let's give it a whirl. Let's see how you do. It's an open practice night. You've always wanted to try it just to see how the other side lives. So we gave it a whirl. It was fun. I would definitely do it again. But I'll just say my heart definitely lies with the non-wing stuff. It is different. They are still sprint cars. The sprint car has no idea whether it's got a wing on it or not. It doesn't really care. But when it comes to driving, it's a different driving style for sure.
All right. So can you tell us some of the significant differences between a wing sprint and a non-winged sprint car?
More or less. There's not a lot of difference. Like a lot of people say, if you're gonna run non-wing, you've got to have this front axle, you've got to have these bird cages, you've got to run this, you got to run that. At the end of the day, you don't gotta have anything, to be honest with you. I know lots of guys. I've raced with plenty of guys. They've taken the wing off and gone wing to non-wing in a matter of minutes, same night, same racetrack. They've done both. They've just literally in their mind driven differently. So when it comes down to the differences in cars, you can buy a non-wing specific car. You can buy non-wing specific front axles. You can buy non-wing specific stuff, but at the end of the day, there really isn't that much difference. I mean, anybody that's any good with a bit of setup and a driver that can drive, there's really not a lot of difference. In fact, my car is predominantly a so-called wing sprint car, but like I said, there's no difference. 95% of the guys I race against all have winged sprint cars that they just don't run wings on.
Okay. Rob, do you have any questions about that?
So, now how many different chassis manufacturers and when you say that you can have a same chassis, it'll be whether it's winged or non-winged. So what if you had a preference, what chassis would you go with and why?
We prefer to run XXX chassis. It's just been we've kind of, to be honest, I've watched a lot of crashes and kind of looked at some cars after the crashes. We've just found that when it comes down to affordability and safety, the XXX just seems to hold up quite well. Not a knock to anybody else or anything else. There's definitely other chassis. Some guys have really good luck with, say a J&J or a DRC. Lots of guys love Maxim. Maxim chassis work well. We just prefer the XXX just from what we've seen and what we've gotten comfortable with. That's what we run. I don't know if I have any more preference than that for that reason. There's countless chassis manufacturers, depending on where you live in the demographics. If you went to California, you would find chassis manufacturers I've never even heard of up here, whereas we probably have things they've never heard of down there. So it just depends, but there's a handful of very common chassis manufacturers, and for the most part, things are pretty much the same, just subtle differences about each.
And when you think about as many sprint cars as there are, I'm going to say in like the Niagara area, Toronto area, do you buy most of your parts like from Bicknell, or is there another large sprint car guy that you would go to here in Canada, or is most of the stuff come out of the States?
So we'll call ourselves frugal racers.
Yep.
We like to do the best we can for the least we can. We go to the swap meets in Fremont, Ohio, and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and the stuff that you can buy and for what you can pay for it, I can't think of anywhere else that I would want to buy stuff. If I've got to buy brand new stuff, we like to use Kears out of Tiffin, Ohio. We will buy stuff through Bicknell if we need to, depending on time. That's really the big thing. We buy things through Lane Automotive as well. We're not opposed to buying things in Canada by any means. It just, we spend so much time in the States. It's just as easy for us to get it there. Sometimes they're even at the tracks that we're at, so you can walk right on the truck, get what you need, and walk right off. And for us, it's just easy that way.
What about, we noticed, as far as we've had a level getting tires and whatnot. And your tires, you have problems getting, or is that not a problem with this?
So it's funny. It is a problem with sprint car stuff. A lot of the tracks or a lot of the series do run specific tires, and it seems to be those tires are getting harder and harder to get. We run an open tire rule in Ontario. So basically, if it's a sprint car tire, I don't care what name it says on the side of it, you can run it. That makes it a little bit easier. In fact, we have guys that are running tires that are 4 or 5 years old. I don't care if you want to put tire softener on them, you can run them. So that's made it a lot easier in Ontario. And in Michigan, even at that, because we can run so many different tires, it's made it a lot easier. There is a tire shortage, but so far we haven't had too much trouble with tire shortages.
Okay.
All right, so carrying on with the racing here. Now, I apologize, I don't have the year in front of me, but at some point you decided to take on Eldora. How did that go for you?
Yeah, so that was a big shocker. John just said to me one day, I think you've put enough time in now. He says, what do you think about going to Eldora? And I really thought he was kidding. I never thought I would get the opportunity. I mean, even when I ran the micro sprints, I knew about Eldora, and it was like the Mecca. But he was serious, and so we went. And to be honest, I knew I had a knife in a gunfight. I never thought I would make the A main, but we went for a holiday, and it was one of those bucket list things. You know, I didn't care that I didn't make the A main. To say that I've been able to race Eldora, for me, I don't care. That was what it was all about. I ran the B main. I didn't make the A main. It was weird because I went to the big bad Eldora, and it was not fast. I had also run Hartford that same year, I believe, in Michigan. Hartford was a big, bad, fast track. Went to Eldora, it was dry slick. And I'll be honest, we did not take the right tires to run such a dry slick track. And it was fun. It was great to say that I had been there. I wouldn't trade the experience for the world. But it wasn't what I thought it would be. It was good, but there's big, bad, fast tracks everywhere we go that are just as good. So Eldora was a lot of fun. I'm glad I clicked it off the bucket list. I would go back again. I definitely would like another shot at it. I think I've learned a lot since then. And yeah, that was more or less it. I really felt like a little fish, but I still swam in the ocean with the rest of them.
Excellent, excellent. Rob, do you have any questions about that? Okay, I think we
mentioned that, Ian. I had something happen. I just bucked and thought it was kind of like a lower vision track until I raced places like Oakshade and so, and wow, you know what? These tracks aren't that back home, and so we have an outstanding facility at the Southern Ontario now, and yeah, it's you know, the grass always looks greener on the other side, doesn't it? But when you get there, they all have problems. So yeah,
that's just it. It doesn't matter where you go.
All right, so 2000. Okay, so 2022 season, Ontario Traditional Sprints approaches Southern Ontario Motor Speedway and says, "Hey, look at us. We want to come and race on your track." So talk about how that went a little bit, and then also talk about how your season is going as well, because I know that you guys don't race every week, so it may be maybe tough to get into some sort of a rhythm or something like that. But just talk to us about that a little bit, Ian.
Sure. So myself, Dick Mahoney, and Ken Bayless, kind of just by chance got talking. We really truly believed in the non-wing stuff. All three of us are very non-wing people, and we know there's a ton of race cars in our area. Even a lot of guys that are sitting because they can't necessarily afford to compete with some of the best winged racers in this area, which is understandable. I mean, that's part of the good thing about the non-wing. We truly believe it is a more affordable way to race sprint cars. We had been in touch with Henry about racing, and we've talked to other racetracks. If we can get this thing to go, a lot of other racetracks have interest. Henry got behind us. He loves non-wing racing. He really wanted to see it happen. So he gave us the opportunity and believes in the product. And so we thank him a ton for that. Glenn Stires got behind us. He supported us financially in a very big way. Like, honestly, if it wasn't for the amount of support he gave us financially, we'd be in a tough spot for sure. So we definitely appreciate that. But with those guys getting behind us, we were able to get it up off the ground. We're able to put on a show. We've had good races at SOMS, and continue to hopefully grow. Every week we're talking to people, trying to get some more interest. It's been going well. As for our season, with the fuel prices and whatnot, we've taken a step back a little bit. Like, traditionally we've run 8, 10, 12, 15 races a year. This year it's cut back. We'll have 8 to 10 races probably in total this year. We haven't gone as far away as usual just because of the cost of things. With COVID, that really put a damper on things, and that has hurt our car counts. I've got 6 guys in Michigan right now that are chomping at the bit to come and race. They just haven't got their vaccinations, and they probably aren't going to yet, or if ever. But it's okay. We're doing well. The season is going all right. The rhythm has been difficult. When you've got 2 or 3 weeks between races, it definitely hurts a little bit. But that's all right. We're just chalking this year up to being able to race and being happy about that, growing the series that we have, and pushing forward. Just hoping that we can get more guys involved, and if we can, we'll get this series off the ground. And we really think that we could have quite a good series right here in Ontario, and there's some great tracks right here in our own backyard. We'd love to see it happen.
Okay, so I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's a wingless or a wing sprint. Whenever fans hear that sprint cars are coming to a track, and I can say this from our track, but when they get excited about that, people actually mark it on the calendar. That's something different. The fans or the grandstands are always packed for a sprint car show. So it's really the fact when you mention that the promoters and the owners get behind you guys. Well, that just means dollars in their pockets, because I mean, that's what happens. You fill the grandstands and that equates to dollars. So it's always cool to have that. And as I said, sprint cars are sort of like a hot button for fans. They love to watch them. I mean, they love to watch late models and everything else too on a weekly basis. But as soon as the sprint cars come, grandstands are full. So that's always promoters or owners. So we're glad to have you coming up this weekend. So is there? You said it's both you and Dale are coming. 10 more guys here from Canada, and it's too bad you can't get those guys from the States. I think that would be really cool too. So anything to add to that?
It's I mean, it's really unfortunate I can't bring those guys over. I've had guys even as far away as Ohio contact me, can I get across the border yet? Can I get across the border yet? They've seen Psalms. They really would like to come over and get on that track. Even some of them, I mean, they want to get on Oswego too. Unfortunately, we don't have a race at Oswego this year. I think if we could pull this series up, we could get a good 10, 12, 15 cars regular week in and week out. We can expand into some bigger tracks. We definitely want to do some more traveling in Ontario. And I really hope that things lighten up and we could get those guys over here. I think the one big thing is, sprint cars always pack the stands. The one thing I hear sometimes, and I don't want to take anything away from anybody, but a lot of guys don't know the difference. A lot of fans don't know the difference between a crate sprint and a 360 sprint. And that's the one thing that sets us apart. Whether you're watching a non-wing or a winged car. And I think there's a lot of things that are just different enough about a non-wing sprint that the fans could really get behind. There's some tight racing. There's no aero problems with a non-wing sprint car or anything like that. So I'd really like to see it expand. I'd really like to see some more tracks. I mean, hey, if a track would give us the opportunity even to bring our 6 cars and try and do some exhibition runs, I mean, I think they would see it really is something. So it's unfortunate that we can't bring the rest of the guys up from the U.S. and hopefully we can. That day will come. And hopefully we can make something happen.
Well, so if there's somebody watching the program right now and they say, you know what, I would really like to get into this, and so how would they could contact GS and say, hey, what do I got to do? We have a couple guys from our area. You mentioned Scott Burke and Chris Vanderweel. And I know there's others that are wing guys, Adam West and whatnot. But if there's somebody out there says, I kind of really like these cars, I'm interested. Where do we go from here?
So I mean, contact myself, Dick Mahoney, John Watson. I mean, all of us that are in it regularly, even Chris Vanderweel. There's lots of guys around. It's not, we see rollers all the time when we're on the right. If you know the right places to look, there's rollers everywhere across the countryside. There's cars sitting in barns that guys could get into. We run, like, chassis are not, you don't have to have the newest, latest, greatest cars. They're quite easily affordable to the average racer. Like, I mean, I'll be honest, there's lots of cars out there. A $10,000 car, complete on the track car, it can be a very competitive car because these cars don't have that downforce. It's really about mechanical grip. You don't need the latest and greatest and best things. We would love to help people find cars. I see them all the time. Just the other day, I shared one, I think, on our web page. It was like $3,500 US for a roller. If anybody's got a car already with a V8 in it, I mean, take that same motor. Our motors are not extravagant. You can make great horsepower with methanol. With a run-of-the-mill V8 motor, you can be competitive. It's not hard. We would love to help people explore the idea of doing it.
Yeah, when you and I were talking before the show, and you said, that's the thing. You can, if you're a street stock racer, and I'm not talking about crate guys, but if you've got a bit of a built motor, and I mean, it doesn't have to be. You just said you can buy a roller for $3,500, and even, let's just say, for $5,000, you get yourself a motor for less than $10,000. You're racing, and you don't have to have a great big rig because they're obviously a little bit smaller. You don't have to have a great big enclosed trailer. So like less than $10,000, and you can go have some fun. That's in fact, I've been asked many times. Okay, well, if I want to get into racing, what should I? How do I get started? And most of the time, it's in a street stock or something like that. But I always tell them in a street stock, anyways, try and buy it turnkey because it'll nickel and dime you to death just about if you try and build a car from scratch. So buy something that's already race ready, whether it's a roller and you got your own motor, but good advice. And I guess that's the thing. If somebody wants to contact you, whether it's on Facebook or however, to get started, I know there's lots of guys out there who are saying, look, I'd like to go racing. And I think this is a great form of racing, especially a step up from a go-kart. That's for sure. All right. I think Craig's back with us. So I'll turn it back over to him.
Yeah, I had some technical difficulty, but I am back. So just as an extension to Rob's question, if you could tell a, maybe a 10-year-old that's sitting in the stands, maybe the OTS is the first time they've seen any kind of sprint racing, what kind of piece of advice or tip would you give them if they thought, this is something I could kind of see myself doing? How do I get started?
If I was talking to a young kid, say 10, 12 years old, whatever, truth be told, if they really wanted to get into it, by all means, if they could start out in something small and just get a few laps in something small and get a little race experience, that'd be fantastic. If you would really like to see yourself in one of these down the road, there's lots of teams out there that would love to have you come. Like there's lots of times we tell younger kids, if anybody really, even adults, if you want to know, by all means, come talk to us, come down to our pits. If you want to come and hang out and learn anything, if you want to come to a shop night, by all means, we love the help. We don't pay really well, but we'll take care of our people. And just come and see what we do. Come and ask us. By all means, we'd love to answer questions. And if you want to get involved, get involved. There's lots of teams. There's lots of jobs. It would be quite easy to get involved if you really want to. You just have to ask. And most of the guys that we race with are more than happy to answer questions, to get somebody involved, to, just to do anything they can to help the sport. It's a good group of guys. Anything you can do, but definitely asking and just coming out and lending a hand is a great way to get started.
Awesome. Rob, do you have any more?
Well, and I was going to mention, and girls too. Like we've got some really good,
absolutely.
That's right. We got some really good sprint car racers that are women. But this weekend, if there's anybody out there who is really interested, make a trip to the pits after the races are over, and go talk to the guys like Ian from the Ontario Traditional Sprint Series, and they'd be more willing to help you out. And it's kind of cool to be part of a traveling series as well, going someplace different, whether it's every other weekend or, it could be, as Ian says, might be every 3 weeks, but it'd be nice if it was every other weekend. But traveling series are, that's pretty neat. You go and meet a lot of different people. So anyway, I'm really tickled. I can't wait to see you guys this weekend, go and talk to you. And other than that, I'll turn it back over to Craig.
Awesome. All right. So number 13, you picked the number 13, or did somebody pick it for you? And why did you go with the number 13? Because it seems like an unlucky number to me.
So back when I was in the micro sprint, that first picture, that red car was number 13. I had been 17. I'd been 117. I had been number 8. When I bought the red car, I was going to change it, and that good friend of mine, Kurt Roderman, said, "What are you doing?" So I said, "Well, I said 13's unlucky." I said, "So I'm going to change it." And he said, "Really?" He said, "You don't have bigger things to worry about than the number on your car?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I had to think about it for a while." And I said, "Well, I guess not." And he said, "Man," he said, "you have way bigger fish to fry than 13 being on the side of your car." He says, "How about you leave it there? Maybe it's not so unlucky." So he talked me into leaving it there, and honestly, it just seemed to stick. I had lots of good luck, and so now it just seems to be everything that I do. 13 seems to be attached to it. It's stuck to me in some way, shape, or form. So that's why it's number 13. Just because one guy egged me on one day and told me to worry about bigger things in life, so I did.
All right, so you've killed all the superstition. Any driver can run number 13, and they're going to have nothing but good luck.
I don't know. I still have bad luck too.
Rob, do you have any questions about any of that?
Yeah, that's funny. There's only one winner, and there's like 30 guys or 25 guys in a race. So but we all try and win, and we're all happy if you're happy if you make the top 5, but you're pretty happy to go home with a top 10 finish in a race car that's not wrecked. So yeah, it's
There's
kind of a
days I'm happy just to make the A main.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, I don't know if Ian has any sponsors or anything like that he wants to shout out to, or if people can buy some swag. That's probably Craig's next question. Sorry about that, Craig.
That's all right. Go ahead and answer. That was my next question.
Yeah, for sure. So, on a personal side, just want to thank, thank John Watson Racing for sure, for putting me in the car, for putting my son in the car. We owe a great deal of gratitude to him. Thank my good buddy Kurt Roderman from way back when, for giving me a chance there. As for the car itself, I'd like to thank Carmuse Lime that I work for there. They do some sponsorship with us, and I can't thank them enough. Stripco Engineering out of Michigan. Unfortunately, we lost a good buddy Mark Stripco of that series, or of that company, but he always treated us really well, and hope he's listening from up above. So thank him. And then as for the series, like I said before, Glenn Stiers, I mean, he believed in us. He gave us a lot of good financial start. So I really want to thank him a lot. Benick Shocks has given us some sponsorship as well. So I want to thank them. Definitely Henry at Psalms. He believed in us in the series right from the get-go. And yeah, I think that's pretty much, Epic Racewear. They've helped us out with some shirts and tent and things like that as well. So I don't want to forget about them. But that's pretty much it for sponsorship wise. We don't have a ton of swag. We're kind of a low budget team that's in a traveling series. And the hard part is when you're traveling around, people don't, until you get big and people recognize you, you don't always sell a ton of it. So therefore, we've kind of kept it low key. I mean, if somebody wants a shirt, we do have our own shirts that we do up ourselves, and we'll do one-offs and things like that. I mean, by all means, we'd be happy to make somebody up a shirt or a hat or whatever. But you know, in the future, if things grow, then by all means, we'll get ourselves some swag. But at that's where we're at.
Awesome. Well, that all sounds very good. Now, social media wise, out there, book or anything else for your own racing or for the series?
Yeah, so we have our Ontario Traditional Sprints Facebook page. We have ots.ca. We have John Watson Racing on Facebook. That's the main ones that we go on. Anything you need to know would be on one of those three places. We try to get our website, the ots.ca site, updated. I know I lack in that a little bit. We've got a new person helping us out with that, Allie Mae Clark. She's been doing some social media stuff for us. So hopefully we get on top of that a little bit better. But that's where you can find things, and hopefully we've got the information people need on those.
Awesome. Well, that all sounds very good, Ian. And I don't have any more questions for you. Rob, do you have anything else you want to ask?
No, he's answered everything I wanted to know, and I'm sure that as far as the fans are concerned, that's just you being on here tonight is going to bring a bunch of people out to the track just because they watch this and they think, you know what, I'm going there. I'm interested in this stuff. So I hope lots of fans come over and talk to you, Ian, and hope you can maybe pull a few more teams up and some new drivers and get that series going, because as I said, when it comes to racetracks, it's and sprint cars, puts a lot of fans in the grandstands and keeps the owners and the promoters happy. That's what it takes, and you guys always put on a good show. So glad to have you, and can't wait to watch you this weekend.
For sure.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you very much for taking some time to join us tonight, Ian. You've offered us some pretty good insights into the world of non-wing sprint racing, so we appreciate that. And we wish you the best of luck in your racing this weekend. And we also wish the OTS the best of luck this season and moving forward. You guys are at the track. Ontario Traditional Sprints are going to be at Southern Ontario Motor Speedway this Saturday, August the 6th. As part of the Roofless Rumble. So fans, make sure you're going out there to check that out. And like I said, appreciate you jumping on here with us, Ian, and wish you the best of luck in everything that you do moving forward.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm happy to do it, and happy to talk to anybody that wants to ask or wants to listen anyways.
Excellent. That sounds very good. And thank you again, Ian. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Okay. Take care, Ian.
Yep. Thank you both.
Yep.
Thank you. Well, there you go, Rob. We know a little bit more about Mr. Ian Hunter. We know a little bit more about the OTS. What do you got? What do you got on all that?
Well, it's it was I guess we didn't touch on it, but if the fans don't know, they look at it, how these guys sit in these race cars. Well, they sit like you're sitting on a chair, and you got your gas pedal on the floor and your brake pedal, and you steer it. And yeah, they're a whole different kind of race car. They're a lot of fun to watch. Personally, I've never driven one. Always thought, well, that'd be pretty cool, but they're just a little bit too quick and twitchy for me. I need to have I got to have something with some fenders on it, but fun to watch. And I know that I have a couple friends. You probably know Frosty and Alan Arsenal. We go over to Attica in Ohio and watch the Brad Doty Classic every year. Well, we haven't the last couple of years, but we make that trip over there to watch the World Outlaws guys race, and what a show they put on. And you should see some of what you wander through the pits, and you see some of these rigs these guys have. It's just really cool. It's just not like your average late model or street stock or something like that. It's just a whole different kind of racing. I really like it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we're pumped to see the OTS at Songs this weekend. If you've never seen sprints before, well, this is going to be a great opportunity to come and watch them. Like I said, Saturday, August 6th is part of the Roofless Rumble, so you're definitely going to want to get to the Speedway and check out all that out. Next week, we're going to be talking to late model driver Brent Kobe. That's not going to be live. That will be pre-recorded, and then we'll air that on Monday night. But let's talk about Brent Kobe for a minute, Rob. What do you got on Brent Kobe?
Yeah, he's been around a while. Back in the days of Chris Ross and Brent Colby, they raced hard, and a lot of these guys used to race over at Oakshade and Attica, and Brent's he's quite a character. That's about all I can say. I don't want to. I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say. Fun guy to talk to. So we'll make sure it's really interesting for the fans.
Yep, for sure. It's going to be a great conversation. If you want to see that interview after we recorded this interview or any other interview, make sure you check our YouTube channel, Circle Track Chatter on YouTube. Also, you can see the interviews and all the other stuff we have going on in the Facebook group. That's Circle Track Chatter Oval Racing Fan Zone. So if you want to get up to date on results and everything else going on from different ways in Ontario, you can definitely check that out. Drivers, if you want to jump on here and tell your story, if you have a series to promote or you just want to promote your own racing, jump on here, get a hold of myself, get a hold of Angela Young-Bonner. We'll get you signed up. We want to hear what it's like racing. We don't care if you race on dirt or asphalt. We just want to hear your story and hear all about your racing and all the good things that come with it. So yeah, if you want to do that, make sure you reach out to me or Angela Young-Bonner. And Brent Kobe next week. We're looking forward to that. We hope everybody enjoys the rest of your evening, and we will talk to you next Monday. This has been Circle Track Chatter presented by Sun Parlor Trailers. My name is Craig Smolders. That's Rob Young. Goodbye.
Good night.